Well, hello there and welcome to the living room of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Just Elfers for April 16th, the day of cosmic comedy. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of cosmic comedy. We have what appears to be, what is it? Oh, it looks to be a ladder with, I don't know, ostensibly some black ink or paint spilled. That's right. Is that cosmic? Hey, who's to say? But a lot of times these visual representational images, I don't know, they're a little bit enigmatic. There's no rhyme or reason as to why they chose them. That said, not altogether all too important. I just like folks to see what's on the page here in front of me so you understand a little bit of the dynamic going on off camera. But what is important around these here parts is it's April 16th and hence it's someone's birthday. So in that case, wishing you a happy birthday. Should it be your birthday? That's what's important. So happy birthday, all right? That said, sometimes these videos find folks late or early, who's to say? And if that's the case, I just want to say I hope you had a happy birthday or you have a happy birthday, depending upon which circumstance it be. That said, oftentimes, too, other folks like to join us to celebrate the day or find out a little bit more about their loved ones or friends. And if that's why you're here, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, and that is roll some dice. That's right, this is the Diecast birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake. But if you've been here before and you know what's going on, or you just want to dive right into the read, well, skip ahead into chapters, all right? I'll be here rolling dice because I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And what's this, folks? Oh, I'll roll some doubles. That's right, a 6 and a 6 for a 12. All right, now what is synchronicity, you're probably wondering? Well, my friends, as it happens, or as I've been told, the universe or the higher powers that be will oftentimes put things in our path to help us manifest our goals or realize our aspirations. But a lot of times we're very narrow of focus or singular, if you like. We're always looking down the road or trying to get after the errands or the job. And so the things that might pass our path, well, hey, we might have the blinders on to them. We might not see them altogether. So this is a little bit of a experimentation, if you like, to help you drop those blinders and see what the universe is putting in your path, rather. Help you identify it, if you like. How do you do that? Well, you need a little bit of a, a signpost, if you will. Something mutually agreed upon between you and the universe, or the higher powers that be. That's right, your daily numbers. Now, you don't have to go with what I rolled for you. The intention is there. But if you want to try this out, well, hey, it'd behoove of you to dip into that Yahtzee set and grab a couple, all right? So you can ascribe directional values to number sets as well as time limits with which to go in those directions. Say you're 1 through 3 for north, 4 through 6 for east, and so on. We can also get down to the nitty-gritty. Say ask questions that are yes and no, and then evens and odds for those yeses and nos. Or even go left or right, evens, odds type of thing. It's all up to you and what you discern with the higher powers that be. That said, once you get all that figured out, pick a place that's near and dear to your heart or one that you want to explore, and then set out, all right? But like I said, get those blinders off, okay? You never know, the day might start to take on a little bit of a theme. You might start seeing things creep up and cross your path. I like to think that that's just the universe showing you it's with you on your path. So it could be something like that, not just your daily numbers. That said, maybe you're not seeing anything after your first couple rolls of the dice. Never fret, just stop, relax, take things in, see what you see. Hey, let's take the visual representational image. Maybe you start seeing ladders everywhere. I don't know, maybe a common theme, but hey, maybe there just so happens to be some spilled paint coming into the situation. Who's to say? It can be just about anything. You just have to make sure that you're keeping your eyes open and staying eagle-eyed for such things. It could also be representations of as much, all right? It could be a bus bench ad with something like that on there, or the repeating theme, all right? Or a billboard and the like. That said, maybe you're not seeing anything. Get down there, roll your dice again. Maybe no sooner do you start doing that when you're starting to question this whole thing. Maybe somebody stops you and asks what you're doing. Hey, be forthright, honest, tell them what's up. You never know. They might just be apt to join you, all right? Or maybe their son or daughter, hey, maybe it's their birthday too, all right? You never know. Maybe you stopping and taking a moment to compose yourself and look around. Well, hey, that puts you right on track to meet this individual. And if they're apt to join you, well, all the better. Because as I also hear it told, the more people who are focused on the same results, you're apt to beget greater results, okay? So Get out there, shake things up for your birthday. And if you see, taste, touch, smell, intuit, even just a little bit of such happenings, well, the ones that I like to call magic anyway, you'll understand why I brought it up. All right. So I think you get the point. Look for those numbers out there. Let the universe show you it's with you on your path. And shake it up. Here we go. Your month is April. Your day is the 16th. Your sign is 25 to 27 degrees Aries of the Aries III period specifically. And your quality and element is Cardinal fire. All right, here we go. April 16th, the day of cosmic comedy. Laughter is something that comes naturally to those born on April 16th, and with it in the ability to allow others to laugh too. And perhaps a knowledge of the tragic, or at least the melancholic, is essential to any great practitioner of the art of comedy, and these people certainly have it. They know how to use laughter as a release from very uncomfortable, even painful situations. And because they recognize that laughter and tears are actually close cousins, are able to better understand and adjust to the human condition. In certain ways, April 16 people may be very wise, yet have a large blind spot. They are accepting, understanding, and generous to a fault. On the other hand, they can allow others to take advantage of them, and in their zeal to do good, overlook the effects of their permissive actions, not only on those they are helping, but on the community at large. And although tuned into the smallest details of what goes on around them, they can make very big errors in judgment, and these errors often made in the financial sphere, it says. April 16 people are not only very aware of their dreams and aspirations of those around them, but they sometimes seem to live on another planet themselves. Yet their own dreams are in no way idle thoughts. April 16 people have a talent for transitioning visions into concrete reality. They are really doers who can make things happen. And if it were not for this fact, others would probably not take them seriously at all. As it is, their energy in making projects materialize is quite remarkable. And April 16 people are generally loyal to their friends and their family. However, if it comes to a choice between their private fantasies and the wishes of their wife or husband, well, April 16 people will not hesitate to follow their visions, much to the disappointment of their mate. It is as if April 16 people are on a wavelength to a higher power, which can sometimes be shared, but more often has a private meaning only for them. And the inspirational king of comedy whom they follow, this inner voice, will keep them in touch in a highly philosophical fashion with the true meaning of life, at least as they see it. And it can be tragic, however, if an April 16 person goes over the edge psychologically, listening intently to voices, but letting go of reality. Those born on this day heed not only their own voices, but also those of others. Taking the plight of their fellow man seriously, truly feeling at a deep level the distress of others is an important part of the April 16 person's development. And sometimes in their excessive idealism, they may forget the needs of others and be quite ruthless. Yet in the final analysis, few will blame them or hold lasting grudges against them. They are forgiven precisely because they themselves so readily forgive. And the greatest lesson April 16 people have to teach others is to be non-judgmental and to accept the setbacks and difficulties of life with grace. Well, all right. Very interesting birthday reading today, to be sure. It's mixing up the dynamic of the Aries III period, which has been in and out with different anomalies, and you think a little bit of bleed through would be happening? No, these things are shifting back and forth quite a bit from day to day, pretty interestingly. That said, I'd like to provide a little bit of a commentary on the things that we've read, a little bit of an analysis on the book writ large and also the period, and also just things I find interesting. So let's get into it, all right? April 16th, day of cosmic comedy. Laughter is said to come to you naturally, all right, which is very interesting considering yesterday's birthday boys and girls were so practical and so serious that they were told to find their inner child and loosen up, all right. Usually there's at least a little bleed through, like I said, or bleed over in qualities day to day, but that's not here today. So it's a stark juxtaposition, pretty interesting, I think. Such instances, in my mind, also lend more credence to the idea that the book captures very specific, non generalized images of personalities that they're talking about. That said, the picture painted for you is a certain perspective of life that is in more dour realizations and how to cope with those unfortunate realities, I would say. A lot of the times, the days are just glowing representations of the day, and other times they're downright just horrible, surprisingly. Today, I'd say there's a mixture of those things, all right, even though it comes off rather like a good read, I would say. But hey, the bitter and the sweet, right? But as it happens, it's not just a rare quality in the book, but an anomaly for the Aries period in this, as this dynamic is yet to present, really. Even furthering from recognizing such realities, the reading claims that you go above and beyond, perhaps to a fault, to be accepting as well as generous, all right, which continues a social bent that Aries III period is known for, a little dynamic that they're in possession of. But that also, I would say, sets you apart from the other Aries period people writ large, okay? Even though Aries III period is said to have a very social contingent to it, I would say yours really drills down on being there for people, whereas the others weren't necessarily. So you've got that going for you also. Also, Aries, the typical Aries people, they're usually very kind, but also very unassuming. And they're typically more individually geared and self-concerned. Here, I would say this does come up for you, but also it says you're generous. And so I would say that drives right in line with the Aries convention there. But just mind you aren't taken advantage of, all right? The book doesn't tend to issue warnings lightly, all right? And the reading also further claims that your dreams and aspirations aren't idle thoughts, all right? And interestingly, there may be a very good reason for that we'll explore here shortly. That said, it's interesting the reading claims, despite being aware of the feelings of your loved ones with regard to your aspirations, you may not be so inclined to err on the side of their wishes when it comes to those, all right? At least as their concerns contend with your own. I found that particularly interesting. That doesn't come up all too often, but it does on occasion, which similarly, there may also be a reason for that too that we'll get to here shortly. That said, I would assume your passions are powerful from the birthday breakdown, all right? However, if this voice of a higher power you follow fuels your compulsions, I would assume it's almost something others would almost envy, that extra push, that voice that kind of directs the action, if you like. So many people face the likes of writer's block in their lives that they wish there was just somebody in their ear to tell them how to get on with it. And it sounds like you've got that, so it's something to be envied in that respect. But with warnings advanced by the reading, if you follow them too studiously, hey, I would say that balance is probably something you need to consider. And perhaps might be a watchword for the day, all right? Even if it's just seated in there between the lines and not stated outright. Because balance, as it happens, is an overarching theme in the book, as well as self-awareness. So we'll have to see if any of those creep up as we get on. That said, that's been what I had to say about the breakdown. Let's move on to your numbers and your planets. All right, let me get the book centered here, stay in frame. I've been gravitating this way most of the week, so let's try to avoid that. And no sooner do I say it, I'll do it. So let's see what happens. Those born on the 16th of the month are ruled by the number 7, as 1 plus 6 equals 7. 1 plus 6, rather, all right? And by the planet Neptune, all right? The planet of dreams, fantasies, and religious feeling. Those ruled by the number 7 can lose touch with reality easily. And since those born on April 16th already have a tendency to wander mentally, they must be especially careful that their Mars, which is the ruler of Aries energy, does not drive them over the edge. Also, because those ruled by the number 7 are not attached to property or financial holdings, those born on April 16 sometimes leave their family monetarily embarrassed. All right. highly personalized numbers and planets for you here today. Sometimes that isn't the case. Sometimes it's just boilerplate breakdown of the planets, and they might tweak it a little bit to show a little bit of the what you call the differences that happen depending upon the coupling. But here I would say they definitely personalize it here for you a bit. And I make mention of that just because I think it's important. It makes folks feel good, all right? And I'm all about doing that if I can, all right? Trying to be generous if you like. I'm sure you understand if the breakdown applies. That said, let's get to the notes. Here we go. The number 7 and the idealistic planet Neptune, the ruler of dreams, visions, and fantasies. The energy, as it happens, most associated with a penchant for folks to not only have their head up in the clouds, but also dedicate themselves to personal pursuits or a cause, okay? Whilst the entry is rather sparse in its information, it is personalized, and considering how Mars and its god of war energy and adventuresome ambition affects things, all right? That said, I would contend that it's this Mars energy that is the previously mentioned reason that you actually chase down your dreams and make them concrete reality, as they said. All right. Whereas other Neptune days, by and large, they may never get out of the dream phase. Okay. So that sets you apart as far as number 7 Neptune days are concerned. Furthermore, Mars may also be the driving force that pushes you to prioritize your personal concerns, all right, over, say, a cause, despite the fact you're generous with folks. And might also make it so that you're going to lean into what you want to do versus the wishes of others, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, you think. I don't know. But there is something to be said, not just of a dreamer, but a dreamer with the drive, energy, and the fire to hunt things down, all right? At least I would contend, all right? Just mind you don't bring down others as you go along with it, all right? And as the reading said, you might risk financial ruin or self-destruction, as has been mentioned in days previous, and quite a few as it happens. So take heed, all right? That said, that's what I had to say about your numbers and your planets. Let's move on to your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies, but it's here in the book, and a lot of the times we can derive some semblance of association with the breakdown. Quite interesting how sometimes it lines up just perfectly. Other times, not so much so, because these things are in a numerical rotation, and so it just so happens to fall on whatever day, depending upon what card in the deck it is. So we might just have to see what happens. Other times, they might just button it with a little bit of this stands as an example of this, that, and the other thing. So we'll just have to see. That said, we don't have to take it home with us and start dealing out the cards to predict our future, however tarot things are represented in the world. But we can just see what happens and leave it here in the book. And I say that because some people say it's blasphemous to even entertain the idea. So I want to stipend that with, hey, that's not why we're here. All right, so let's get into it here. The 16th card of the major arcana is the Tower, which in one version shows both a king falling from a lightning-struck tower and the building of this tower being killed by a blow to the head. The tower symbolizes impermanence of not only physical structures, but also of relationships or vocations in our lives. All right. The changes wrought can be sudden and swift. And the positive elements of this card include being able to accept seeming disasters while at the same time confronting challenges and overcoming them. Negative elements include rising unjustifiably high, being destroyed by one's own invention, like I said, and succumbing to the lure of fanciful enterprise. All right. This right here, pretty common cut and paste boilerplate job. They might have tweaked the copy just a hair, but not enough for me to really recognize what they changed. That said, kind of common, but sometimes they will button it to say this serves as an example. But I would say it was so on the nose, we don't even need that button to understand as much. So let's get into what I had to say about it here, if anything. Maybe sometimes I don't do that. Let's see. The Tower, the symbol of impertinence in life, and those realities others may become jaded or bitter over due to such losses. With positives of being capable of accepting seeming disasters and overcoming challenges, as they said, I think it's easy to see how fitting this card is as a fair representation of the day. All right, right on its face, it seemed to speak to what was conveyed already. But with negatives of being destroyed by one's own invention and fanciful enterprise, I'd say the card brings it home the rest of the way. All right, so like I said, I might not be saying much with this one. It was so pertinent. Perhaps you might do all this with a laugh as on the nose as it seems to be. I don't know. They said you like to laugh, so hopefully that's the case. And maybe even so much so because I didn't add much to it. That said, with such a hallmark card, what else is there to add to it? I would say there's a lot of warnings in there and just more justification for what the book had to say. Pretty interesting. That said, that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. Here we go. Those born on April 16 are generally possessed of remarkably good health. And because of this fact, and also because of a refusal to take practical matters too seriously, their health can suffer through negligence. In fact, psychological health difficulties are of greater concern for many born on this day. Yet only when physical difficulties surface do they seem to take the time to consider what is wrong with them. As far as diet is concerned, April 16th people will eat almost anything, it says with an exclamation point. Though an unbothered attitude to diet coupled with a healthy appetite can be a very positive thing. And those born on this day may have to be a bit more attentive to nutritional concerns. All right. This one kind of lines up with an Aries, what I've been calling the Aries anomaly, where they don't really get into exercise because typically they'll talk about what kind of exercise you need to get after, and they don't necessarily pigeonhole diet down to specific foods. Here they talked about diet, so that's kind of in keeping with what things have been going with here in the Aries period. But again, they're not drilling down on specific foods. So a healthy appetite, very positive thing, but be attentive to nutritional concerns. I'm not even looking at the notes. I might have burned them all down. Let's get into it here. You're said to possess a remarkably good health, which tends to track with the rest of Aries. All right, and in kind, you may then suffer from negligence of such matters. And this has come up a couple times the past few days. So much so, I was surprised by it because I was like, well, I don't think I've ever heard this before. They're so, and there are people who are aware of health matters, but they neglected their health. So be mindful of that. Like I said, they don't issue warnings lightly. Again, also a common theme, like I said, but psychological concerns, all right? That's all you, okay? Very uncommon for the period. I don't think it's come up once, but it's fairly common for a number 7 Neptune day, all right? So right in line with it, but not all, okay? So Mars may be adding to that, giving it extra fuel for the fire there. And they said the voices and the like, that just kind of screams the schizophrenic warnings and the like. I don't think anyone's saying it's that, but just mind psychological stuff regardless. So be proactive rather, and not reactive, I would say. At least it sounds as though you'll be good if you do as much. All right. Nutrition for diet, like I said, on par. No exercise recommendations, but Mars tends to get, and that's the ruler of Aries, Mars days tend to get what you call strenuous or vigorous exercise recommendations. So much so they say use some combative sports to get out your aggression or your pent-up energy, ostensibly to exercise the god of war energy. And that has not been coming up. Actually, there was a warning for one individual, like, hey, don't do this because you're apt to hurt yourself. And their logic being that Aries individuals are so go after doers, if you like, that they're going to get all their exercise in just being themselves and going after the things that they naturally go after. So to do any kind of exercise, they say just moderate, all right? Just take it easy, okay? You already do what you need to do. So there's that. Aries body types is the head, the neck. I think it's also the brain. And I say that because they warn against headaches and also tooth decay. I know that wasn't mentioned here for you. The rest of the book tends to make a point of mentioning that every so often. Like if the system was the lymphatic system to avoid the likes of dairy and the like, they get too much phlegm and the like. So for you, they mention chiropractic concerns if you got neck issues going on. And then the tooth decay, which is pretty interesting because it's in the head, right? But also mind the headaches. That wasn't mentioned here, like I said, but I thought it would be of interest to you, so I wanted to carry that forward. That said, that's been your health. Let's move on to some advice. All right, as if they haven't given you enough of that already, right? Here we go. Remember who your friends are. All right, don't neglect your family. Try to keep your emotions on an even keel and beware of sentimentality. Don't be bound to the past, rather look to the future and beware of those who would take advantage of your good nature. All right. I would say this was in and out with how it applied to the day. Some of these things I didn't really pick up on, and that happens on occasion, but then again, maybe I'm not the most insightful individual. So let's get into what I had to say. I had to write in the book. Bear with me, I might get some words stumbled up here. They said, remember who your friends are. And I would say, don't be taken advantage of. That's what popped into my mind as I was writing this, because of your generosity, as it were. And they said, don't neglect your family. It happens, all right? We get comfortable with our loved ones and significant others and might take them for granted to some extent. Forget to say thank you in certain situations, whatever the case may be. But mind you're aware of it, because it could start to add up, I would say. Not that I'm not guilty of it myself, just kind of throwing it out there. And then I also put, and when and if things change suddenly and swiftly, like they said they may in your life, that might incite some drama, all right? The folks who are ostensibly along for the ride with you, they might want to get off, especially if you're not heeding their wishes like they said you might be apt to do, insofar as chasing your dreams down. You're going to have to weigh whether that's important to you or not. I don't know. But what else did they say here? Oh, I said find and implement a balance, all right? We said balance being a watchword for the day, despite the fact it wasn't mentioned outright. Though I think they said keep an even keel, perhaps. If they didn't, they've been saying it past few days. So there you go. Aries anomalies there. But they said keep emotions in check and beware the sentimentality. Didn't pick up on this so much. Maybe it's implied that there's some emotions at play, considering the dynamic between the dreamer and the Mars. One's down to earth, being the Mars, very earthy, grounded. Neptune's way up here, all right, up head in the clouds type kind of philosophy. And the two might be in conflict a little bit and cause a little bit of an emotional stir, if you like. Maybe not like breakdown crying kind of thing, but maybe a little more anger in the bargain. So I would say maybe be aware of that and notice and be self-aware of when it might start to kick off so you can get ahead of it. That would be my assumption. Sentimentality, though, not quite sure where that comes into play. Again, maybe I'm not apt enough to pick up on that, who's to say. But what else I have to say here? Maybe it's a concern for your dreams, sentimental about those things. If somebody poo-poos it, maybe that stirs up some emotions, gets you a little angry. So don't be too sentimental over those things, perhaps. I don't know. But it seems like a bit of a reach otherwise, in so far as I can discern. Because I got the idea you weren't attached to financial things, or to material things rather, or finances. I think that was also another thing. We get sentimental over objects and the like. And I was under the impression, hey, that might not apply to you so much. But maybe you're sentimental over the dreams. Maybe that's what they're drilling down on, like I said. So it must be the dreams and ideals. Again, find balance with those things if they may occupy your concern. And I also wrote compartmentalize, all right? Find a way to put things away and take them out to give them their time when you have the time. A lot of the times, all right, we let things be overbearing in our mind and take away our power. So we got to reclaim it by putting it away when we're done with it. It's going to get our time eventually. Just be the one that reclaims your power and dictates when that is, I would say. So that's what I've been bringing up here as of late, because it has been coming up. So they said, look to the future, don't be bound to the past. And again, this was something I didn't pick up on, but I would say it's good advice in general. And also they said, don't get taken advantage of, but we already talked about that with remember who your friends are. Also, maybe I was just thinking of this as we were going over it. Maybe these are folks who are trying to tell you, hey, your dreams are a little bit out there, and they're trying to bring you in a little bit, rein you in. And you need to remember they're your friends. They're giving you some good advice, all right? So maybe actually heed it a little bit or give it some consideration. Because if you're letting your dreams take over and you're like, damn the torpedoes, if anybody has an ill word to say about it, I don't need them. Hey, just remember, they're your friends, all right? They got your best interests, even though maybe it's not the best interest, your dream's best interest. in mind. All right. That said, that's been your advice. Let's move on to your meditation. That's right. It's your birthday. You get something to think about. Here we go. When one door closes, another door opens. Once again, when one door closes, another door opens. All right. Hey, I like this one for you, all right? But I'm not going to say why, all right? It's your birthday, your meditation, okay? That's for you to think about. I don't want to influence it one way or the other. That said, your meditation in the can. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. Let's see where you got the girth, however they do the thing with the bicep, and where you otherwise be a little more atrophied in the bargain. All right, your strengths. We knew this one. You're humorous, you're generous, and you're accepting. All right. Hey, you know what? I wouldn't have thought that because of all the negative stuff they were talking about and all the warnings. But your weaknesses, what could those be? All right, here we go. It says you're out of touch. Ooh, all right. Little Neptune energy coming in there, head in the clouds type stuff maybe. Fiscally irresponsible. Okay, yeah, we picked up on that a little bit. I think that's the first time I've seen that written in here. And permissive, it says. All right, maybe that's a little bit of that getting taken advantage of stuff. I don't know. A lot of times I like to make the case that our strengths are going to help us overcome our weaknesses, but I also like to argue that our weaknesses can be strengths in unto themselves. Now, I might have a bit of an issue making this relate here today, but let's give it a shot. It says you're humorous. How can that help you overcome your weaknesses? Hey, pretty simple. You're going to have a laugh about it, all right? Even the most difficult things, you're going to find a way to release the tension and the stress that comes with that by having a laugh. I would also say it's going to help you compartmentalize things to a certain extent by blowing a lot of the drama off in and of itself. So it's a huge strength. Interestingly, the past few days, not a lot of humor at all. So there was like no carry through. So your day popping up in the middle of Aries 3 with a humorous notion, bit of an anomaly, all right? So you stand out in that respect. Generous also, same comment, all right? You stand out in amongst the pack because some of these folks, they're not quite that generous in this period, even though they have their mind on the social, all right, and taking care of folks. But it just doesn't seem to quite be in the same vein, I would say. But how's it going to help you with your weaknesses? Well, think of it in respect to being generous to yourself. All right. And maybe not so much in terms of chasing after your dreams, but hey, bringing home the real reality. All right. We got to be fiscally responsible with the family and the like in there. So be generous to yourself in terms of like living a life, I would say, maybe not outside living your dreams so much. Who's to say? There's salt and pepper that to taste, all right? But it's just a thought in my mind. Also, accepting. How is it going to help you overcome your weaknesses? You're going to accept your weaknesses for what they are. Something maybe holding you back in certain respects, okay? Some people, they're too head in the clouds to even accept the notion that, hey, this is holding them back, all right? And if you got enough practicality to be accepting of things, then, hey, I would say you're going to allow that into your purview. But they might be meaning other things, like you're accepting and non-judgmental of people's issues. I think that it was mentioned here. And you know what? That's a huge strength in unto itself, too, because, hey, whereas some people might dismiss other individuals and not put them on the project or incorporate them into the process of something, hey, you're going to let them come in, and maybe they bring something to the process that other people outright missed out on because they were so quick to dismiss them. You never know what an individual's strengths are, even though they may seem meek and mild, all right? They may excel at the coding or whatever it is, the nitty-gritty of the project. And you're the one that reaps the benefits because the other people weren't accepting enough, right? I think you get the point. But how can your weaknesses be strengths? All right, you're out of touch. All right, how could that be it? You know what? You're coming up with the original ideas, okay? You're not within the box that everybody else is. You're well outside of it, okay? And you're chasing things down, making them concrete realities so that they sit on top of the box, if you like, okay? I get the point that they're trying to make here. You're going to set things off in a certain way that people can't access, or just you're too off in the clouds all the time and people can't get a bead on you. It's hurting things in detrimental ways. But hey, balance again. You can bring that into your tool bag and use it when it's needed, all right? When people need a harebrained idea to bring some originality to the table. Fiscally irresponsible, how can that be a strength? You know what? Sometimes people are a little bit too tight with the penny purse when it comes to making dreams a reality. And it sounds like you may not be. Again, balance, all right? You may also be able to figure out and be, discerning about where we need to spend the money and where we don't, all right? Or let it be accepting of the individual who does know, all right? And then be willing to put forth the financial, where the money needs to go versus where it doesn't necessarily. All right. So I would see that as a strength in some respects, because some people, they ain't about to open their wallets. All right. But maybe you will. Also, permissive. How would that be a weakness? Maybe just letting folks get away with things that they shouldn't be. Those folks that are taking advantage of you. That said, how's that a strength? I don't know. If we're leaning into that being what they mean here, I don't know. Maybe letting certain people who not necessarily take advantage of you, but do things in ways that you wouldn't have anticipated. Well, the fact that you let them in there, again, maybe it's that accepting notion in that respect. They're able to get things moving in certain ways other people wouldn't have. I'm not quite sure what to make of that one so much. Again, it's a balance. You got to judge people in certain respects, and it's saying you're accepting of folks. But hey, you can't be taken advantage of. Boy, that's a delicate dance for sure. All right. But I think I made my case with the rest of them pretty astutely, quite honestly. Who's to say? It all depends on what your definition of permissive is, it sounds like. In any event, I think you get the point. All right. So use your strengths to overcome your weaknesses, but don't let your weaknesses get thrown out in the trash altogether. All right. Hold on to the good parts of them is what I'm trying to say. Does it make you who you are? All right. You need someone who's a little out of touch sometimes. All right. So that said, that's been your strengths and your weaknesses. Let's move on to those born on this day and see who shares your company. All right. But something I like to do outside of just finding out who else has a birthday with you is maybe look at it from the perspective of chasing down a passion, finding a purpose in this life. Sounds like you might not have an issue with that so much, but a lot of other folks that I've met do, all right? They're just rolling out of bed in the morning to hit the alarm clock so that they can get to work on time to punch a clock. And that's no way to live, all right? At least in my mind. Yeah, you got to keep the roof over your head and food on the table, but if you got a purpose in this life, maybe you're working towards it on the weekends, getting excited, can't wait. And then you're moving the ball down the field in respect to chasing things you want to chase. All right. There's a reason for it. Some folks don't have that. They just are trying to rally for the forthcoming weekday. All right. Like I said, no way to live. So if there's anything we can do, or that seed that I can plant in your minds with relating these particular people and what they did to get in the book, maybe it's to plant the germ to get you start thinking about, hey, what is it I want to do with my life? All right. And what work do I need to put in to get there? Sometimes it's work to figure out what that is, let alone what needs to get done to do it. So, hey, if there's anything I can wish for someone on their birthday, it's that they're chasing down a passion and a purpose. All right. So let's look at it through that prism. But if you already got that figured out, well, hey, then the hat I'm not wearing is off to you. Let's just see who shares your company. Let's get into it here. Those born on this day. We start off with Charlie Chaplin, all right? The British-American comic film actor and director of City Lights, Modern Times. Producer, writer, composer, created the Little Champ icon. And we also have Wilbur Wright, the airplane co-inventor. We also have Anatole France, a French writer of Penguin Island. We also have Peter Ustinov, a British film actor and a writer. Kingsley Amis, A-M-I-S, maybe that's how that's pronounced, a British satirical writer. Lucky Jim. We got a lot of laughers here. Let's keep seeing if that's the case, all right? We have Spike Milligan, a British comic satirical writer. Did I say that one already? I was to say. Mercy Cunningham, a choreographer and a dancer. We also have Henry Mancini, the composer, arranger, and conductor. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a basketball superstar center, 6-time MVP, played 20 seasons and leader in over 20 all-time categories, including total points. That may have since changed to some extent. This book was written back in the early 90s, but who's to say? Maybe it still stands. We also have Evelyn Ashford, a U.S. Olympic 4 gold medal winning sprinter. We also have Jules Hardouin Mansart, a French court architect for Louis XIV, it looks like, X1V. I'm assuming that's 14. We have a Versailles designer, it says. Sir Robert Wilson, a British astrophysicist, ultraviolet explorer, satellite designer. Interesting. Ellen Barkin, a film actress. Herbie Mann, a jazz flutist. Bobby Vinton, the singer. We also have Eddie Adams, a TV entertainer. P.W. Pillsbury, the flower merchant. And we also have Sir John Glubb, a British Arab Legion commander, known as Glubb Pasha. We also have Harvey B. Lyon, a psychiatrist and founder of the Miramont Clinic. And finally, Vladimir von Bechtejev, a British self-taught painter. All right. And I know I butchered a few names on my side of things, so let's make up for it here. It's not done in malice. It's just hooked on phonics. It doesn't necessarily work for me with the names there, especially when they're foreign. That said, hey, I would say the field of play is wide open for you to make your own mark, all right? There were some names we recognized in there, like the likes of Charlie Chaplin, but a lot of others we didn't. So I know the book's written already, but hey, don't let that dissuade you from chasing down a passion, all right? That said, that essentially rounds out your birthday reading, except to say your season is spring, your sign is Aries, and the Aries III period specifically, and your quality and elements is Cardinal fire. That's a different video altogether, though, so I won't get into the weeds with that. That can be found elsewhere on the channel with the elements and the like, and the qualities, I think I mentioned. But this has been April 16th, the day of cosmic comedy. And, with the ladder and the spilled paint, maybe tragic comedy, all right? Yeah, especially some of the subject matter they went over today could be considered tragic, depending upon how it all shakes out. That said, this has been Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description, right above a little birthday message I like to put together for the birthday boys and girls. So check that out if you're interested. This makes an excellent coffee table book. If you're hosting a party or the like, this thing's bound to get the ice broken in a figurative or literal fashion, considering its girth, all right? And folks are apt to leave the party going, wow, what a way to start it off, all right? And hey, you know what? Maybe you're apt to learn a little something about them folks, all right? A little something you didn't know. In any event, book having been related, that's not what's important here. What's important here, like I said at the top, wishing you a happy birthday, all right? So happy birthday once again. And for everybody that joined us, hey, I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and we see you for your birthday reading, all right? And then before I'm out of here, like I said at the top, hey, your daily numbers. Your 6 and your 6 for a 12. Get out there, look for them, try to spy them. Let the universe show you it's with you on your path. Line some things up, all right? And as we said today here, you know what, folks? Just find some balance in your life if you can. Try to measure things, Don't just go outright chasing your dreams for the sake of chasing your dreams, especially if you got folks that are along for the ride, all right? Be wary of, sending them to financial ruin, if you like. I would say that was a huge takeaway today, all right? But other than that, yeah, be willing to laugh off the hard stuff, okay? Huge trait. And keep making those dreams concrete realities. Huge, all right? I'm right there with you in that respect. But that said, like I said at the top, you heard it here. Happy birthday, all right? Take care of yourselves.